Hello, this is Roger. Thanks for stopping by. Look who's just come out to play. It's an unusual one, this. I mean, this is Psychopsis papilio, and it's the alba form. So basically the bloom is exactly the same as the non-alba form, minus the red. It's just not there. So what you're left with is the lovely yellows and creams. And I actually like that one. I really do. I'm watering again today, so I'll see what I can spot as I go round, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's it's a perpetual bloomer, so the blooms just keep coming one after the other. I mean, it's quite a small plant. It's only got one spike, which is not so good, but they come and go, and through the winter they don't come very often. You know, the plant shuts down a little bit in the winter. This is a warm growing plant, so it's not ideal to keep this in my grow room in the winter, but it hangs on. And then as the longer days come in and the warmth gets there a little bit more at night times and much more in the daytime, the plant perks up, and so does the frequency of the blooms. And they tend to last longer in the better weather too. As I say, the last bloom I had on here was a while ago, and I think it lasted about 3 weeks. It normally lasts longer than that, so we'll see how this one does. But yeah, nice splash of yellow for the morning, and there's other bits of yellow around in here, but I love that bloom, I really do. You know, if you want to talk exotic, just look at that. You can imagine, you know, if you were walking through a jungly forest sort of on an orchid hunt, and these plants tend to hide away. They, you know, in the wild they do like quite heavy shade, and you turn a corner and one of these long spikes, or several of these long spikes, are sort of hanging out from in the undergrowth somewhere, with the spike itself almost invisible, and that sort of dancing around in the breeze. That will be quite a spectacle to see. One day, maybe. The only thing I can say about this Phalaenopsis is it's shy, and it hides under that leaf. This is my eye view, you know. It hides itself away. But at the show on Saturday, I'm convinced that this plant was in the show. And I was so convinced, in that video somewhere, I remember deliberately filming the tag, because this hasn't got a name. But I always thought it should have. I don't know why. Sometimes you get an impression with the Phalaenopsis that it's probably quite close to a species. You know, maybe only one or two levels down, like a species crossed with a hybrid, something like that. But I'm pretty sure I found it, and I filmed the tag. I just haven't got round to digging it out and writing it down on my label. But I'll have to have a very, very close look at that video to make sure. I don't like putting a tag on something unless I'm really, really sure, you know, especially if something's going to end up in a show. But it's got that extendable spikes on this little thing, which also sort of lends itself heading back towards the species, because they often do that. Some of them only have 1 or 2 blooms ever, but they just keep pushing them out on the ends of the spikes. And the other little spikes just sort of showing its buds. I thought I'd lost that spike because the first couple of buds just blasted, but now it's pushing on again. So yeah, 2 spikes on that, 2 plants as well. Oh, there's another spike down in there as well. Can you see that one? Hang on. Come on, move. There, I'm pretty sure that's another spike coming. Just started. So when I got this, it had 6 spikes. And they lasted well, and then it hasn't bloomed since, but it's just sort of started up again. Again, that's probably in a response to better light and things, you know. You never know. And I might have to reconsider. You know, I said I got rid of my Berryoda, my big one, split it into 3. One bit is now sunning itself in Italy, and the other 2 went off to other places. And I've just got these 3 kikis, and they're in bloom. And do you know what? They've been in bloom a long time. So I might actually hang on to these kikis and start growing another plant. Because as far as blooms go, these aren't as small as a lot of Kingianum types. They are fragrant. Unfortunately, my nose is in there at the moment, and that is just overriding everything. That's the new delicatum I got. But these Berryoda blooms have been there a long time. Well, slightly fragrant, a lovely delicate colour, and last a long time. That's got many of the criteria that I'm after. So I might reconsider that one, and it might be allowed to stay. I'll think on it. I suppose actually what's really going to depend on is there's 3 kikis in a pot. I can't get at it because the fogger's in the way. Yeah, you can just sort of see the 3 kikis. And at the moment there's no signs of new canes growing. Well, that'll be its saving grace. If that starts pushing out a load of new canes this year, then I should get plenty of that next year, in which case it can probably stay. We'll see how we go. Right in my face. Thank you very much. That literally is right in my face. Naughty fogger. I can't be bothered to get to the switch and turn you off. This yellow twinkle's virtually finished now. This was the last spike to open. Some of the blooms are starting to brown, so that's probably only got a few days left. At which point, thank you, at which point I can think about getting it out of its pot. And being a twinkle, it's probably going to get mounted. We'll see how we go. But it's in this coconut stuff, which in this case is quite loosely packed. It's actually not bad. And it's done this plant well while it's been in there. So, you know, although I can't stand the flipping stuff, in this particular case, it's not all broken down. It's not soggy. It has got air in it. And the plant's doing okay in it. It's not staying in it, but, you know, just saying. But yeah, I think the old twinkle blooms are going to be gone, you know, and then we'll be looking for some new growths and bring it on ready for next time. So I don't actually see a single new growth on that plant at the moment. Now that plant is going to be quite exhausted because, I mean, I think that had 5 this is the smallest spike of all of them. This is more like the size of the others, and it had 5. Now it's not a big plant, and to put up 5 spikes on a plant that size, it's going to have used an awful lot of its energy sources. But we've still got plump pseudobulbs, far too deep in the media, but I'll deal with that. So I mean, it's not a bad plant. You know, those are good bulbs. They're nice and plump, not wrinkled. The leaves are good, they're not marked. Well, that one is. But yeah, God, that delicatum's right in my face. That is strong. Anyway, yeah, twinkle not much longer for the blooming world, and then we'll be into the new growth world, hopefully. Right, let's see what else I've got. Well, this little Restrepia's doing quite well. It's one of the Eric Young ones that I actually got. It's got quite a few blooms on, some just going over. It's got signs of more coming, but that's not a good sign. Now that's a sign of me not upping my watering frequency with the season. That's all it is. I mean, I do let these get quite dry in the winter when it's cooler. And as you can see, this is more like what the new growth should look like. And that one isn't. Now that's the oldest of the new growths, so that's, you know, the one that's been around a little while, and obviously it's been getting a little bit too dry in between waterings, so the frequency needs to be up. And it's perfectly logical if you think. I mean, plants don't use much water at all at night. They don't work that way. So they work in the daylight hours, and the daylight hours are now 2 hours longer than they were a while ago. And when you take a 2-hour portion of light in an 11-hour day, that's quite a high percentage of extra growing time, therefore using more water. And I haven't been given it enough. So I need to up my frequency, literally. You know, I need to keep up with the seasonal change. I've been a bit slack and been stuck in a routine for so long. I need to snap out of it now and keep up with the plants. The plants are going to start to race. Yeah, well, running along behind them is not the best idea. Keeping pace with the plants is the best idea. And not getting ahead of them, or they'll get soggy. They need to use the water you give them. And when they've used it, give them some more. And my feeding routine now has gone from every third watering to every second watering. As the season really takes off, that will change to feeding twice, flushing once. You can see how gradually, as the plants take off, they'll use more nutrients and they need more water, or watering more often. So yeah, I need to get my running shoes on and keep up with the plants. Thought I'd better include this, otherwise that other Phalaenopsis will be sort of stealing the show, and this one will one day steal the show. This is from a good friend of mine, Mr. Lacouf, who comes to the Malvern show and to the RHS show in London, so I'll be seeing the gentleman again in a few weeks' time, actually, in London. But I'd class that as a bonus, because I'm pretty sure that's a spike. 2 would be better. Come on, get your act together. The only problem I've got with this one is that media is a bit peaty. Either that or it was bark and it's breaking down, but it's got no scent to it. It's not got a mushroomy scent or anything. And in there is a good root system. So I'm reluctant to disturb it at the moment. It will have to come out of that pot eventually. But yeah, for now it can stay. All I need to do really is not keep it soggy, because it, you know, as I said, there's no scent to it, so it's not turning mushroomy and going off. There's always, that media, quite honestly, has always looked like that. So that's what it was actually potted in, and it seems to be growing well in there. You know, I mean, that's the latest leaf. It's a giant, far outstrips the other 2, so that's my leaf. That was a tiny little thing when I got it. Yeah, again, another new leaf would be good. Let's get some strength in the plant, but it looks like it's going to spike. Bonus! That is Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory. Very, very fragrant, beautiful blooms. So come on, let's have some. Now this Shelob Tolkien is spiking. That wasn't there last time I watered it. It hasn't been repotted yet, and I'm still waiting. This growth is virtually mature and is spiking, and yet it's only just starting to push its new roots out. So obviously this new growth here is quite a long way from getting its root system getting going, and also this one here. So this one, oh, there's another one around there. Yeah, so it has new growths at many stages. But the only one at the moment pushing out new roots is this one, and it's only just started. So although I want to get it out of its media, not yet. It's got to wait. It just has to wait. I need to see better roots coming out of this one, and I might even risk letting those get a little bit long for repotting to allow these 2 to catch up. So that even though they might not be pushing out their roots, they'll be much closer to that point. Yeah, so that it won't be in its pot very long before another 2 sets of new roots push out. So that one's got to wait. That might mean it gets repotted when it's in bloom. That's a case of so be it. I'm not interested in whether it's in bloom or not. I'm interested in catching that at the right time. It's a good plant, lovely leaves on it, and yeah, and now we have a spike. Yay! That's a bit of good news. Since this Dendrobium Nestor came back down here, it started, and it gets sort of watered a bit now, it started to push its new canes out. But the progress on the buds is coming on. You know, some of these have got what looks to be a good bunch of blooms coming out. And I've got buds down as far as here at the moment. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 sets of buds on there. So I'm pleased with that one. That's coming on nicely, and that's going to be quite a show. It's highly likely it will only bloom on that cane. That was last year's new cane that I was quite proud of given its length. You know, these were the previous 2. That's my one. It's still actually growing, believe it or not. But to get a couple more canes as well, If this doesn't bloom on every node this year, it will save some up for next year. Like probably from here down, there'll be some on next year's cane, plus the same as this, hopefully on the 2 new canes. So that will be good. So that's it for my watering today, and I'll see how I get on tomorrow, see if there's any other things that I come across. But that's it for today. Thanks for dropping by. These have just had their, they've been in soak for 2 hours today. A little bit of Super Thrive in with them, and they will be totally dried off by tomorrow, and then they can get it again. There's no, I was just going to say there's no signs of new root growth yet. I've only been doing this a couple of days, come on. But we'll see how it goes. I've been told this is actually water culture. All I've done is change the schedule. So instead of doing 2 days in water and 5 days without water, I do 2 hours in water, you know, followed by 22 hours out of water. So basically I have a daily cycle with these at the moment. And until I see root growth, I'm not going to change that. The only reason I'll change that is if I go to soak those in the morning and they still look wet, in which case they'll go another day. But apart from that, they're staying in the air. And what they aren't going to get is shut away somewhere where there's no airflow and no movement of air around them, because that's what dries them quickly. If I stood them in a glass or something like that, they just wouldn't properly dry. So they're not using this water properly at the moment. You know, the roots are being hydrated, but the plant isn't using a lot of that moisture. Hopefully it will soon. Okay, see you again next time then. Thanks for dropping by.